Hiya, welcome to Darren in the studio. Thanks for swinging by for another video. This is the very first video of 2025. So, with that in mind, we want to say a very happy new year to you and looking forward to more videos in the new year. Lots of hopefully different things. This video is based on something that was commemorated this week. Today is the 10th of January 2025, and just a couple of days ago on the 8th of January, Wednesday the 8th of January, here in the UK, was the 90th anniversary of the birth of probably one of the most important human beings in history, certainly one of the most important human beings when it comes to music and entertainment. We're talking, of course, about Elvis Presley. It was the 90th. Elvis would have been 90 years old a couple of days ago, and of course he's been gone for a long time now. August 16th, 1977, Elvis passed away 48 years ago. So it's not that, he's been gone longer than he was ever alive. He died at the age of 42. Born, of course, like I say, on the 8th of January, 1935. So, like we say, a couple of days ago would have been Elvis's 90th birthday. And like I said earlier, it's, as far as I'm concerned, and it's very difficult to argue against Elvis being one of the most important figures, I think, in music history. There are very few people, I think anyway, that are iconic. The word icon and legend is bandied around all the time now, isn't it? You only have to be, I don't know, winner of a talent show 10 years ago to become a legend. You know what I mean? It's just nonsense, isn't it? The term icon is another word which is far too regularly used, and I think with Elvis, he would be one of those people which you would term as an icon, beyond famous, someone who transcends being famous. More, being a legend is just not good enough a word. Iconic. His image is iconic. His name is iconic. I mean, even the image, his face, his likeness is copyrighted. I first sort of started getting into Elvis probably, I don't know, when I was probably about 16, 17. Although obviously I knew of him. I remember reading the newspaper, the Daily Mirror, here in the UK. I'd be about 8 years old when Elvis died, and I remember seeing the paper and my mum being shocked, and it was a massive deal back then, and very few sort of deaths since have been so dramatic, have been so poignant within the music field, the acting field, just the general entertainment field. So what I thought I'd do with this video as my tribute to Elvis, I've got a few Elvis albums along the way. What I thought I'd do with this video to mark the 90th anniversary of the birth of one of the greatest singers of all time, if not the greatest, certainly one of the greatest performers of all time. What I thought I'd do is I would mark the 90th anniversary of his birth with a video. I'm going to show you some items that I have here in my collection. We've got some CDs, we've got some DVDs, we've got some vinyl as well. Like I said, I've been collecting Elvis since about, 87-ish. And what I've done with this throughout my... I've not got everything of Elvis's, of course. I really haven't. But what I've done is, with the stuff that I've actually got, I've been through my collection and picked out highlights that I think within his life. I did a similar video for Jim Reeves not too long ago, and did the similar sort of format. So we're going to do that with this one. Take you through the stuff that I've got, maybe tell you a bit about why I've got it, how I got it. We're going to start at the beginning with Elvis's very first album. We're talking 1956 on the RCA label. An album which not only was iconic within its music, but also within its sleeve as well. This, of course, is Elvis Presley. This is a nice little 2000 and something, I think. 2000, I can't read that, it's too small. A nice little reissue of it, which came in a box set with his second album. Got all the tracks, of course, there, and then some bonus material as well. Nice little presented album. But this album cover is absolutely iconic. Of course, The Clash reproduced it for their London Calling album, and it's been sort of used many, many times. Scotty Moore here on the drums, on the guitar, part of the album cover. Elvis Presley's very first album, 1956. A lot of good stuff on here, of course. Blue Suede Shoes, I Got a Woman, Tutti Frutti, Blue Mood, Money Honey, some of the bonus tracks. Heartbreak Hotel is a bonus track. Lordy Miss Claudie, My Baby Left Me, I Want You, I Need You, I Love You. Nice little shot on the back there of Elvis at the RCA studios. Elvis Presley's first album, 1956. Nice little CD reissue of it. Now, this particular collection came out in 2011, but we're taking ourselves to the 60s. Of course, Elvis was signed to make many, many movies, and some would say that it actually ruined his career. It certainly dogged his career, all the movies that he made, and a lot of the music within those movies was seen as sort of substandard and was never really taken that seriously. Although Wooden Heart was from one of his hit movies, and that was one of his biggest records. This is called the Elvis Collection. This is a nice little DVD collection featuring, how many movies we got on here? We got 6 movies featured on here. You've got Viva Las Vegas, Jailhouse Rock, It Happened at the World's Fair, Harem Scarum, Spin Out, and Speedway featured here. I mean, the years are what? 1964, 1957, 62. I can't see what year that one is. Yeah, so you're looking at like from the 50s onwards, of course, from the back end of the 50s to sort of like 67-ish, 68, and then Elvis did the comeback special and dumped all the movies. Really, as far as I'm concerned, I've seen a couple of his films. I'm not really a fan of his movies, if I'm honest. I haven't seen all these films on here, I'll be honest with you. This comes in a nice little 2 CD case, 2 DVD cases with the discs inside like that. This is basically one of those budget releases. Like I say, I've not seen all these films, if I'm absolutely honest with you. This is a nice little sort of collection of them. I must go through them. But his movies were seen, of course, as a bit cheap towards the end, and very sort of, the formats were all the same, weren't they? And he was dogged with the image of them, and I think even he, in the end, disliked them terribly, and he wanted to get back to the music. And also he wanted to do serious films. He wanted to do a lot of serious films and was offered some really great parts, but turned them down. I understand that he was asked to be the male part in A Star Is Born originally. I think Chris Christopherson ended up doing it in the end, but Elvis originally was the guy who was asked to do it. So that's a nice little collection for you with 6 movies, 6 of his films, representing the movie side of Elvis. And as far as I've seen, You know, I don't think he was a bad actor at all. He was okay. Right, 1971, of course, Elvis's career in the 70s took a little bit of a dip. Wasn't selling as many records and stuff like that, but I love this particular album. And here in the UK, Elvis's music pretty much came out on the RCA Victor label and sometimes the budget label RCA Camden. This is a great album. This is Love Letters from Elvis. I love this album, 1971. This is a nice little RCA stereo pressing of it. The covers were always like this. They were always sort of like, I don't know, I was going to say cheap there. I suppose they do look a bit sort of cheap, don't they? But Love Letters from Elvis, great album this. Love Letters on here is a re-recorded version. Of course, he had a hit with it in the 60s, but he re-recorded it in the 70s for this album. And the Love Letters on here is a lot more sort of bluesy, much better version on here, in my opinion, anyway. Only Believes, great on here. I'll Never Know, Life, Heart of Rome, and When I'm Overused, great. Got My Mojo Working, Cindy Cindy. If you haven't checked out this album, then do so. Love Letters from Elvis, 1971. We're going to 1975, one of my favourite Elvis Presley albums. This is on CD. This was part of the Elvis in the 90s. Not Elvis at 90, but in the 90s. This is a nice little 1990s reissue of the Promised Land album. Of course, Promised Land being the Chuck Berry song. A lot of good songs on here. Mr. Songman's great. It's Midnight. If You Talk in Your Sleep's wonderful. Thinking About You. Nice little album. Out on the RCA label. Originally from 1975. Like I say, a nice little 1990s issue. Seems pretty dated now. Still got the original Elvis in the 90s hype sticker. I wonder if they'd sort of say Elvis at 90 now, wouldn't they? That was weird. Coming up to 1977, I've shown you the album that was Elvis's first album from 1956. 1977, 21 years later, they put out this. This was Elvis's last album within his lifetime. Much of the album was recorded in 1976, but it actually came out in 77. This is Moody Blue. This is a nice little German pressing from the 90s. A lot of good songs on here. For the CD reissue of this, they actually cut out one of the songs. They took out, I think it was Easy For You. I think they took that one off the CD version of it. God only knows why. Like I say, this is a nice little 90s repress of Elvis's Moody Blue album. This is one of my favourite Elvis albums. I love this album. Unchained Melody, Little Darling, He'll Have to Go. Great little bluesy version of that. Way Down is on here. It's a different mix on this album. It's got more sort of guitar on the album version. But Way Down's my favourite Elvis song of all time. It's so rocky. It's really great. Don't think he ever performed it live. Moody Blue's on here. Another of my favourite songs. She Thinks I Still Care is also on here. Elvis, Moody Blue from 1977. Okay, we're going into the 80s now, and of course Elvis's music never was unpopular. His music is as popular now as it ever was. And here's a nice little album from 1981, this, and you don't see this album very much, and I love this album, and it's a really nice concept. Cheap as chips. This is called Elvis Presley, The Ultimate Performance. This is on the K-Tel label, issued in 1981. What this album is a collection of Elvis's live shows, all from different shows, put together as if it was one show, all sequenced together as if it was one particular show. Nice little write-up as well from Todd Slaughter, who is the head of the British arm of the Elvis Presley fan club. K-Tel Records, I'll show you the label. You all know K-Tel Records here in England, well, throughout Europe really. They were a very sort of prominent record label that put out budget releases, but some of those releases were very, very famous. You know, they didn't sort of stick to a particular type of music. They really covered all kinds of music genres, from soul to hard rock. You know, you'll remember the Axe Attack collection. Elvis Presley, The Ultimate Performance. Nice little album. If you see this, do pick it up. It's not very sort of widely found, and but it's a great album. It really is. All the big sort of songs are on here that he used to perform live, and like I say, it's all the songs are taken from different concerts and sort of married into one live album. Really nice album. Really great artwork as well. Really nice artwork. And Elvis is wearing this suit here in the background that you can see on here. Okay, we're going to 1982 now. This is a very, very odd record. This is a recording of the night that Elvis died. This is Radio Luxembourg. This is called The King is Dead. This is an album of the radio show, on-air tributes and music, The King is Dead, the night Elvis died, 16th of August 1977, taken from Radio Luxembourg. Contributions on here by Tony, introductions by Tony Prince. There's Tony when he met Elvis in the 70s, about 75, 76. Tony Prince, you got Peter Powell, Mark Wesley, several fans sort of phone in as well. Unfortunately, Jimmy Savile's on here, but we'll skip over that. And Todd Slaughter is featured as well. The Night Elvis Died. This is on the Magnum label. This came out in 1982. Another sort of rarish kind of record. Interesting though. Taking you back to the night that Elvis actually died, and what the radio sounded like, and what the tributes on air from Radio Luxembourg actually were. Unusual little release. Okay, 1987. This is the very first Elvis album that I owned. And as far as I'm concerned, I still think that this is the best collection that they ever did. Of course, this was put out 10 years after Elvis passed away in 1987. And it's on the RCA label. This is the all-time greatest hits. Now, of course, before 1987, there had been plenty of Elvis collections, box sets, double albums, triple albums, single albums, all sorts of hits collections. But as far as I'm concerned, this was the first comprehensive look at Elvis's music. A lot of tracks on here, some 40-odd tracks featured on this album. Also came out on CD. Nice little gatefold double album with a lot of sort of the memorabilia on the inside, album covers, singles, stuff like that. The all-time greatest hits out on the RCA label, 1987. Like I say, I think this is the best collection that they ever put out. Nice little album. This is the first album that I ever bought of Elvis's. Okay, we're going to 1973, so we're going back in time, but we're going to 1988 as well. This is a very interesting album. And 1973, of course, Elvis did the Aloha from Hawaii shows, the first ever televised live satellite show, beamed all across the world. And back then, it cost an absolute arm and a leg, didn't it, to sort of put something like that on. The use of a satellite was within its infancy, really. They had the technology to do it. Nowadays, it's 10 a penny, isn't it? There's lots of people watching this on the internet all over the world. But to do a concert and have it beamed all across the world live was a very, very special thing. And before he did the concert live across the world, there was a rehearsal done the night before. Now, the night before, they had a select amount of audience come in to see the dress rehearsal. And this is that recording This is the recording of the dress rehearsal. This is called Elvis, the Alternative Aloha, the dress rehearsal from 1973, the unreleased dress rehearsal of the most watched TV special of all time, recorded live at the Honolulu International Center, Friday, January the 12th, 1973. Now, January the 12th is like 2 days away from now, which is quite weird, isn't it? So if you can get a copy of this, this is a very interesting CD, beautiful sort of artwork as well. And one of the very first digitally recorded, sort of transferred CDs, recordings. I think this was available on cassette and vinyl as well, but quite rare this. If you get a chance to pick this up, then do so. The Alternative Aloha, released in 1988 on the RCA label, but recorded back in 1973. The show before the greatest televised show of all time. 1991, I'm going to take you to now, and this is probably part of that Elvis in the 90s, but this is a beautiful little box set. One of a couple of box sets I'm going to show you. This is called Collector's Gold. Again, something that you don't see very often, this album, this collection, if you like. This is 3 CDs of Elvis material that was, some of it was released, but a lot of it wasn't. CD 1 features Elvis in Hollywood, doing songs from his films. Disc 2 is Nashville, recorded in Nashville, and Disc 3 live in Las Vegas. 1991 on the BMG label. With it, you get a very nice booklet, which is in the back, so I won't show you it. But also, there's the CDs, 3 CDs. Actually, I will show you the booklet, because I want to show you the booklet, don't I? Let's see. Get the booklet out, put them back. Just a basic representation, reproduction rather, of the sleeve. But in it, you get information about the tracks, when they were recorded, who's on them, and when they were released, and all that kind of stuff. 3 CD collection, 1991, Elvis Collector's Gold. One of many box sets I've got of Elvis's. Collector's Gold. In 2006, this DVD came out, and on the 25th anniversary of Elvis's passing, they put together a show where Elvis was on the screen from various live shows, and they collected as many as they could of Elvis's original band, including James Burton on guitar, Ronnie Tutt on drums, lots of other people, the original conductor. Obviously it wasn't the original orchestra, the original conductor of the orchestra. The Sweet Inspirations were there as well, and it was recorded in Memphis, Tennessee, Elvis's hometown. Elvis Lives was the DVD. Of course, a few years later, this show would go all around the world, and I actually saw this in Birmingham, the live show of Elvis on the screen, and I have to tell you, it was just like seeing Elvis live in concert. It really was. Like I say, he was on the screen. The band was all live underneath him, big orchestra and the whole band underneath, and he's on the screen as it's depicted here. An incredible show, a really incredible show, and they've done it a few times now. They also did it with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, went all around the world with this particular show. But there was never an album or anything like that released, just this DVD as far as I am aware. Also, some of the original band is featured on here being interviewed, like Ronnie Tutt, of course, who's no longer with us. James Burton is on here being interviewed as well, and the conductor, whose name has totally gone out of it. Joe Gershaw, was it? I think Joe Gershaw. Elvis Lives, the 25th anniversary concert live from Memphis. I actually bought this at Gracelands. Opposite Gracelands there's a sort of lots of shops and stuff like that. Of course, when Elvis was alive, the shops weren't there. But the shops are all there now, and you can pick up various sorts of merchandise. And I've still got, in here, I've still got the receipt. And this was from the Heartbreak Hotel gift shop, 3734 Elvis Presley Boulevard, Memphis, Tennessee, 38116. And it was purchased on the 25th of September 2012. How about that? There's the original till receipt from, and I think it was just this DVD, yeah. But I also bought this t-shirt from one of the other gift shops at Gracelands, and the tag on here has got Gracelands on it. So I'm glad I kept that receipt. Elvis in concert. Coming more up to date, this is from 2016. This is one of the albums that they did with Elvis and the London Philharmonic Orchestra. They've done three of these albums now, including a Christmas album. This is The Wonder of You, collector's box edition, 17 tracks on vinyl gatefold, collector's booklet, 17 track CD, and a poster as well. Really nice, nicely presented. Elvis with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Of course, these recordings were made using the original Elvis vocal, and the backing tracks taken off and new backing tracks put on with the Philharmonic Orchestra. I'll show you the vinyl. There's a booklet in there as well. I won't show you that because I don't want to take up too much time. Elvis with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, The Wonder of You, collector's box set, 2016. And no doubt they'll do more of these. Of course, they've done these now with Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison as well. No doubt they'll do other ones along the way. But I think the Elvis ones have been the most popular and really great as well. Really beautiful sort of production and stuff like that. Another album which came out in 2016 featuring recordings from 1976. This is called Way Down in the Jungle Room, with my little tag there on it. RCA Records. This is 2016. A lot of great sort of tracks on here. Double album showing the Jungle Room. I've actually stood in the Jungle Room, which is kind of cool. And here's the albums here at the bottom that were used, that were produced using these sessions. Some of these songs were previously released on other sort of collections, but this was a nice little 2016 release of songs recorded in the Jungle Room, because of course Elvis in 1975, 1976 didn't want to go and record elsewhere. He had RCA Studios bring the mobile to Gracelands, and they set up the Jungle Room as a studio, and on these you can hear the outtakes and Elvis talking and the band talking, laughing and getting it wrong and stuff like that. Some nice little takes on here. You get a chance to pick this up. I think this was a Record Store Day thing. 40th anniversary 2LP, features newly mixed outtakes from the Jungle Room sessions engineered at the legendary Sam Phillips recording service in Memphis, Tennessee. Nice album. Next, another recent album. This is from 2018. Another way of taking the original backing tracks off and putting a whole new band on. This is Elvis Where No One Stands Alone. It's a religious album. A lot of Elvis's music, of course, was religious. Nice little duet with his daughter Lisa Marie on here. Of course, we lost Lisa not that long ago as well. This album, I think it was partly produced by Lisa Marie as well. Yeah, produced by Joel Wineshaker, Lisa Marie Presley, and Andy Childs. Newly sort of recorded songs featuring Elvis' original vocal. I like it when they do that, because I often think if the artist was still alive, they'd probably re-record a lot of their stuff anyway, because technology is a lot better now as it was back then. 2018 on the RCA label. I'll show you these labels as well, because RCA, some nice little inserts as well on this one. There's the Gates of Gracelands. Show you the vinyl, because they tried to replicate what the albums were like in the 70s as well. Nice little RCA labels. Where No One Stands Alone, like I said, featuring Lisa Marie on one of these vocals as well. I haven't got any of Lisa Marie's music. I might have to check it out, because I've seen some of her videos online and her music's really good. So I might have to go down that rabbit hole maybe. Elvis Presley, Where No One Stands Alone. One of his religious albums, a newish album from 2018. Last, but certainly not least, 2023 saw... Did the movie come out in 2023? The Elvis, the Baz Luhrmann movie? I was going to feature that on DVD and the album and stuff, but I thought we all know about that release. This is a nice little Record Store Day release from 2023. These are the RCA Burning Love. This is called Burning Love. The RCA rehearsals. Similar setup to that Way Down album. Recorded at RCA Studios in Hollywood, California. From March the 27th through 29, 1972, Elvis recorded at the RCA Studios in Hollywood for the first time in 12 years. Those dates also marked the debut of his acclaimed TCB live band at the actual recording sessions, which inspired great performances like Burning Love, Always on My Mind, Fool, and Separate Ways. Nice little collection of 1972 recordings at the RCA Studios. Again, some of this material was previously released, but nice to have it on album. And a lot of this stuff, of course, was issued on CD, just normal sort of paper insert, so I won't show you the vinyl. Elvis Presley, Burning Love, 2023 this come out, and I'm sure there's more sort of new music, new releases coming out from Elvis all the time. And of course, in recent years, in the last sort of 10, 15 years or so, Elvis has sort of been remixed. Of course, there was that big hit, A Little Less Conversation, with JXL. He's always around. His music's always being used for something in movies and things like that. And of course, there was the biopic that they put out, the Baz Luhrmann movie Elvis, that came out a couple of years ago, which I thought was absolutely excellent. So I hope you've enjoyed my look through some of my Elvis things. And of course, Elvis would have been 90 years old this last week if he'd lived. Sadly passing away, of course, on August the 16th, 1977. Only a couple of years to go before we hit the 50th anniversary of his passing. If you've liked this video, like, subscribe, you know the deal. Hit the bell for notification. Love to hear where you're watching from. I'd love to find out where you're all sitting. And thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for swinging by, and we'll see you for another video here in the studio very, very soon. Ta-da.